Yo, 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 what's up? This is Dust Mites, and you are listening to Verbally Challenged.
I found I'm pretty good at naming things, so I said off the runner, and then no one had any objections.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't. I knew you. Don't be a liar.
Just like that.
Don't lie to
Just
the
like
fans,
that.
Chris.
You didn't name shit.
The truth will come. I will go through 700,000 messages to find it.
You do that.
I will.
Well, check back in next week.
I'm going to hire Dalton.
Nice.
He's already got it. Dalton's got it in his diary.
It's in his diary.
HarikenBx here, and welcome back to Verbally Challenged. If you're here listening right now, I just want to send a huge thank you out to the people out there listening. I really, really appreciate it. If you've downloaded, if you've subscribed, then that means you're supporting me and my endeavor here. And I just wanted to let you know that I find it very hard to find the words to let you know how much I appreciate that. You know, right now at this point, I've been doing the show for 4 months, and I'm very proud to say that each month the podcast seems to be getting more support, more listeners, more plays. And I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate that. It couldn't be done without you. I just wanted to let you know that I'm very, very thankful for that and that I appreciate it. You know, so thank you for being here and thank you for listening. So, you know what? Do me a favor, guys. If this is your first time listening to the show, please send me some feedback. Let me know how you found the show. Let me know what platform you're listening to the show on. This show is on a bunch of platforms, pretty much every podcast pushing platform out there, between iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Castbox, Anchor FM. I mean, there's just so many, I can't even name them all. I'm sure there's some out there, you know, that I don't even know. I know Spotify is one of them. A couple of people asked me, you know, to put the show on YouTube. So you can find the show on YouTube as well, if that's your thing. The name of the YouTube channel is Verbally Challenged with HarikenBx. So please head over there and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. It's just another way for you to enjoy the content if you're, you know, at home, on the go, in the office. So once again, guys, thank you. I appreciate all the listeners of the show and all the support that you guys are giving me. And, you know, hopefully each and every month it will continue to trend upwards as it has been so far. So just wanted to let you guys know that I appreciate that. Also, I just wanted to thank everybody that's been a guest on the show so far. You know, this is pretty much an open podcast. I love to have conversations with people, and I've had a great bunch of guests on the show so far, and pretty much they're the ones that have helped to make this show possible. So I just want to let them know that I really, really appreciate it. You guys know who you are. Just thank you guys. I appreciate that as well. Enough of me babbling. This is going to be a little bit something different for you today. I was a guest on the podcast called Off the Runner, which is usually hosted on Dakota's channel, Primal Sabbath, on YouTube. It's a model building podcast, basically, where they usually build Gunpla, but it's not just relegated to Gundam. You know, you could build any kind of model kit on the show. And they have pretty much an open format as well. So if that's your thing, if you're into building model kits, if you're into building Gundam, Gunpla, model cars, model airplanes, model anything, you're pretty much welcome on that show. It was hosted on Bricks on the Dollar's YouTube channel. He held the show live on his channel last Thursday night, so please check that out. The episode's available. And it's usually on Dakota's channel, so I'll get you all the information and put it in the description of this podcast. So I got some clips from that show here for you, just so you could kind of get some insight into the show and check it out and see if it's kind of like your thing. I like to spotlight other shows with people that I'm cool with in the community. I've spotlighted MPSP Theater. I hope to have the Cobra Law record guys on a future show. They have a podcast called Welcome to the Terradrome. I was a guest star on that, so check that out. That published last Friday on all podcast pushing platforms. Welcome to the Terradrome, hosted by Nathan Haskell, featuring Dust Mites, Bometheus, and Midichlorian from Cobra Law Records. So please check that out as well if you haven't done so already. I've had Josh Fisher as a guest on the show, and he does MPSP Theater as well as All Queued Up, which is a podcast that he does. Greg from Mercy's been on. Of course, he's on SCU. So it's just a wonderful community that's out there and a bunch of great guys that have helped me do this show for you every single week. It's been a good time, and I hope to continue to bring you some great content, and hopefully you enjoy listening. So like I said, guys, send me some feedback, good, bad, indifferent. It doesn't matter. I appreciate hearing it all. I want to make this show better for you guys. So like I said, I just appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. Send me some feedback if you can. I'd appreciate that. And please just follow on all social media platforms. You know, I'm very active in the Realm of Collectors Facebook group, so you could always find me there, Jose Diaz, if you see me, but that's a hard name to search on Facebook. You know, you're going to find a million of them, trust me. So you could just find me all over social media at HarikenBx, and the descriptions to all my social media platforms are also available in the description of this podcast. So please check that out. You can follow on Instagram, you could follow on Facebook, you could follow on Twitter, pretty much everywhere on social media at HarikenBx. And like I said, please remember to follow the YouTube channel Verbally Challenged with HarikenBx. It's just another way to get this podcast out there for you guys. So I really, really appreciate it. All right, so enjoy the show. I'll be back with you in a few.
Okay, bye, Tyler. But hi to all you out there. Welcome to Off the Runner. We're here, Tyler and myself, and we have a special guest, Jose, who's doing some secret espionage.
Yes. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Of course. And last time it was just Joe and myself, and now it's building-wise, and now it's Tyler and myself, and Dakota's in the wind.
Where's Dakota? Where is he? Is he coming?
He's at the Truck Stop Casino.
Yeah, he's working right now.
Those hookers out there slowing him down.
Yeah, he deals with a lot lizards. A lot lizards.
A lot lizards.
So yeah, Jose, this is, let me see. Okay, this is Shadow Fox. Little tiny petite guy, chain gun on his back.
He's a small.
Mm-hmm. He's a small boy. Well, as you can tell.
Your shit's falling apart.
It's just falling apart. Like don't get me wrong, it displays nice. You know what I mean? Like when it sits up there, it doesn't go anywhere. But to, I guess, pull it down and show Jose, maybe it's Jose's fault. That's what I'll tell you.
Jose.
It's my fault, right? It always is.
But
let me ask you guys, you know, since you guys both seem to really be into the hobby, when did you start building model kits in general? When did you start collecting them?
I got that Zoids kit was my first kit I got, and I got that in 2016 sometime. I might actually got it for Christmas 2015. Didn't build it for a while because it was really intimidating. That's a big kit. I started building it sometime in 2016, just off and on, and it took me like probably 12 hours total to build that thing, which is certainly more hours than it would take me to build it now. But as my first kit, having absolutely no experience with model kits, it was it was a long process, and I don't know if that it was worth 12 hours of time, but
it's just like boobs. You know what I mean? When you first see it, when you first experience them, you don't know, like, should I be rough? Should I be gentle? Should I be delicate? You know what I mean? Like,
so that was your first experience. Is Zoids that has like a different scales of difficulty, like building them, or is it just one?
They're pretty well. No, I think there is there's smaller kits, right? They're all on the same scale as far as size goes, but I thought they had a measurement on the booklet, but I could be wrong. But like some kits are easier than others because they're smaller, right? So, and actually some kits are harder than others because they're smaller. You're dealing with smaller pieces.
Yeah. That was the first one I got, and then I want to say January of 17 so I took a break after that one. I was just like the kit I had on the shelf for a while, and 2016 I was just full Realm of Enablers, just buying nonsense, and 2017 January, I started buying some Gundam kits. I saw some customs on Instagram, and I had to have them, even though that's not what they were going to look like, because those are customs. I just had to have it, and I started buying them, and I was getting like one a month, and then that went right out the window, and I've got like 40 some of these now.
One a day. Yeah.
Wow.
I was getting 3 an eBay coupon.
Yeah, pretty well.
That's
happening.
Smart shopping. You know, with the Zoids kit being like your first kit, it was the experience overall like a good one. Like, even though, you know, it took that much time, was it something that basically made you think like, I could keep doing this, like I could get into this hobby? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, I definitely, because I did wind up going out and buying a lot more. I haven't bought any more Zoids kits, but that's mostly because they're expensive. I also learned a lot about the pricing of these things and figured out what I really wanted to get out of it. And Tyler will definitely tell you how price conscious I am with this hobby.
No,
very much so, and he's smart in doing so too. Like, I'll give him credit; he's very smart in doing so. He's more bang for the buck, but he's also not driven by fiction like most fans are. He's in it for the build, the quality of the build, and just the overall experience. Whereas others like myself and, you know, even Dakota, for the most part, we're in it to have that representation from what we loved from the fiction, right? So
yeah, and that usually makes sense because the fiction usually drives your buying habits when it comes to the hobby. So, but you know, I think personally, like when it comes to the model kits, like they look so cool, like the Gundams in general, and even those Zoids, like, which I've never really even like seen before. They look cool. So I could almost Brick's point of view as well as like, hey, I could just buy these things just for the enjoyment of building them, and they still look cool in the end, whether I know who the characters are or not.
For sure. I buy them because I really like putting them together. I like how they look when they're done. I buy them based on price and how cool the stock photos of it look. Honestly, I don't watch any reviews either. Tyler watches a lot of reviews, but I just, if the promo image on Amazon looks awesome and the price is right, I buy it. And sometimes I'm bit by that, but not often.
See, for me, with like watching those reviews though, I don't watch a review for build quality because I can tweak any kit by myself, and that's the beauty of the hobby. Is like when you're building these kits, you're investing a little something into every one and making it your own because you have to build it yourself, and the final outcome is a result of, you know, how much effort you put into it. Right? So like when I'm watching reviews, what I'm paying attention to is the posability, how articulate it is, what kind of poses does it pull off, and what kind of presence does it have.
Scaling. Definitely scaling.
Exactly.
The only time I'll ever watch a review is if I see a kit and there's like no description. It's just some guy on China or Japan selling it through Amazon, US Amazon, and I want to know, all right, how tall is this thing? Because there's no indication. So I will look up a review, and a lot of the reviewers, they'll do like an end of the video size review with like several other kits next to it.
So that's what he skips to.
Yeah, right to the end. I use that little scrub bar at the bottom, and I get to near the end, and I see a little thumbnail of 3 kits standing next to each other. I'm like, that's where I want to be.
Boom. Yep. There you go. So you said you got like 40 something kits like now. Like, what's the ratio between the built and unbuilt?
I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 here unbuilt plus this one. 2 of those are high grades that I got, and the 1/144 scale, which I don't usually buy, but they are kits that mean something to me, and I want to check them out because they don't make a 1/100 of it, and if I really like it, I wouldn't mind army building them because they're cheap and they're easy and they're brand new, so they're really available. Yeah,
the HGs are definitely an attractive option for people that kind of want to dip their toe into the hobby. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them, 10, 12, 14, $15, like depending on certain, the character, I guess. And I think the size of some of the kits could vary depending on what they are.
Yeah, because there's like an in-universe scale to all this stuff. Yeah. And like there's a series called F91 that has a bunch of 1/100 kits, but they're all smaller than like even this thing. They're all smaller than the 1/100 kits I have. They
Is the
stand up.
F91 that much smaller?
Everything F91 is on a smaller scale, so they claim to be
Really?
1/100s, but they're all between 1/144 height and 1/100 height, which
So that means they're
I wouldn't
smaller
know
than-
unless I watched the reviews, and that's kept me from buying any of them because of that.
Yeah.
Chris, are you into any of the fiction at all as far as the Gundam? I know you're into some of it, right?
I've watched
As
a
far
few
as the kits
series,
go.
but I mean, I'm not running out to watch everything all right now, mainly because I don't have that much time, and I don't want to get sucked into the fiction and make me buy kits that I don't really like or I'm liking for the wrong reasons.
Hero!
He's trying to steer clear of the ledge, you know.
Pretty well,
He
man,
doesn't want to
yeah.
dive in. All right. What about you, Tyler? When did you start getting into model kits?
I got in it just not a hunch. I got in it just like spur of the moment type thing. I've always wanted to try it. So one day I decided I was going to, and I went to my local hobby shop and I just picked one up for retail price. Chris, it's okay. And I made the mistake of going out and getting a real grade for my very first kit. And let me tell you.
Now let Jose tell you about real grades.
that was my first experience too with the Gundam model kit. I went real great.
And wasn't that a mistake?
Yeah. Well, I got through the experience, and then I was like, man, it took me basically like a weekend, but I guess if I combine the hours, it took me about 13, 14 hours or so, maybe 15. But a lot of, little small bits and pieces, because the real grade, just the frame underneath it, and it was the RX-78 to the OG
Grandpa.
Gundam. So it was just, the building the frame underneath, and there was just so many like little pieces. So it was kind of difficult in that regard, just a lot to keep track of it, and, especially for your first time. But I got through it, and I was like, all right, cool. That was cool. And then I remember I got like an HG kit. And when I put it together in like maybe like 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and I was like, that was easy. I was like, what the hell? Like, that was nothing. Yeah, I was like, that was nothing like the other one, And then I got into the master grades, and I saw, bigger scale, which I like and prefer, and a good amount of pieces. The difficulty was there, but moderate, but nothing like challenging because of the size. A lot better than that 144. I found those to be the most fun, like in my experiences putting these things together.
So I've been wanting to ask someone outside of our specific circle, how do you feel about the crazy amounts of articulation some of these kits have, even from the basic 1/144 high grades to the master grade and even the real grades? Like, it's not just, you move your knee, it's you move the knee and then the whole knee pad just like, you know what I mean, unpanels and shifts and everything, right? So it doesn't break the sculpt, right? It's so highly detailed.
Yeah, that's an incredible feature, like from the kits. I think that's part of the allure of wanting to kind of get into this, and I think that's kind of, it would be a draw for those people that might not be sure about getting into it. Because it was like me for the longest time. I'm like, no, I'm not into putting things together. I just like to buy my action figures. But you do feel a sense of accomplishment. When you're putting your time and effort into something. I did feel like. Yeah, it did feel like it was like a relief, kind of like a little bit of a stress relief. And at the end of the whole thing, I was like, man, I put this thing together, and it's a pretty damn cool toy. The only downside I feel about the kits is that they don't feel as solid as like a fully built action figure, like obviously, but pretty sturdy enough if you just manhandle them. You could get a wide variety of poses, which I think is amazing. You're basically replicating what you're seeing on the screen with these things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
No, I agree. And like the customization aspect of it too, like with not only just painting, but you know what I mean? Like just like homemade sculpting and whatnot, or kit bashing and stuff like that. Like it's not only doable, but it's encouraged throughout the rest of the Gundam community to experiment, to create, to, you know what I mean? To innovate something that hasn't been done before with said kit or said kits, because you could take 3 kits and bash them together to make one super Gundam.
That's interesting. I know I could probably never get to that level, but do you do anything like that? You do your own kind of customizing? Have you gotten that deep?
I've got 2 that I customized all the way through. I've got a couple that I've just been playing around with, but I have one that is just prim and clean, just got the panel lining and a little bit of accents, and then just like top coat and remove the stickers and paint it and whatnot. And then I've got another one that I weathered to be more rustic, and like the not the buttons, the glass orbs in its arms have shattered open, and there's like green oozing from his. Actually, I'll show it to you. Give me 1 second.
I haven't done too much of that. Actually, I've done none of that. I use a marker sometimes, and that's it.
Yeah, the panel lining is. I've done it. As long as it's simple, super easy. I've seen the little tips and tricks to how to clean up if you kind of make a little mistake. But that looks really cool.
Honestly, I just lick my finger and rub the marker off. Comes right off.
You just grab like a Q-tip or something. Yeah.
I don't know how well that's coming across, but as you can see with the green, like running out of these red marks, and then the weathering, I put score marks to look like either beam sabers or metal blades. And then, just your typical weathering, just dry brushing. I did some rust up here on the shoulder pads. And I transferred the rust over to everywhere on the actual frame itself. But I'm specifically proud of how the head turned out, because I tried some different techniques that I've been learning through the hobby. But like I've done some rust chipping and some experimenting with how rust can affect, certain spots of the metal and just kind of ignore others. So it's been interesting. Like I'll take better pictures for you. I think I have better pictures actually, but I'll take better pictures for you and I'll send them to you afterwards if you want. You can see the kind of detail that I put into it. But like in each kit, I find it varies. Like you get what you put in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you get what you give when it comes to these. Like if you're willing to put the time and the effort into one of these to make it something great, you will 9 times out of 10 get something great. But if you're only in it for the quick build like Chris is, and that's perfectly fine, it's perfectly normal to just want to build for the sake of building, you're going to get the stock build. But if you want to personalize it and really make it something to be proud of, aside from a straight build, like the options there, and even customize, like it still maintains all the same posability and everything that I had before, right? So
you're just adding your own creativity to it, which is great. That's a good thing. I would probably want to, like, if I would ever do that, I just probably want the experience of building more of them, and then like probably practicing the painting on maybe some like the lower grade kits or a lower grade figures.
And that's what this is. This is the high grade. What is it called? Dantalian. Mm-hmm. And I picked this up and this is Canadian. I picked this up for, I think, $12.
Oh, not bad. Yeah, that's a pretty cool looking bot.
I put it together in probably, I want to say maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then with all the painting and stuff, I don't know. I think I put 8 hours of overall detailing and stuff into this kit. So yeah, I'll just chalk it up at 8 hours of work that I put into it. Mm-hmm. And that's what came out of it was, in my opinion, a really cool custom that I'm really proud of, especially for my first full custom, right?
Yeah. So what year did you start getting into building Gundams? Because Chris said 2016, so it's been a couple of years now.
I think when Chris started back up is when I got into it again. And it was weird because me and him didn't even know that each other built Gundam until I think I mentioned it, like, oh, I'm building Gundam now. And Chris was like, oh, yeah, what Gundams you building? And we just started talking about it from there. Like, oh, we both build Gundam? Cool. And then we just started talking about Gundam all the time, which is where the episode Gundam Lock came from that 1 week on Stasis Lock.
Yeah, I hope this story is going exactly where I want it to go.
I was going to end it there, but you want to add some shit to it?
So Dakota wanted nothing to do with Gundam, and he did a spin-off group chat that he started for I think it was just Tyler and myself, maybe Dalton, and he he created the chat and then left the chat, left us in there. Like, you want to talk about Gundam? Here's a place to talk about Gundam. And, So okay, so we were talking to Gundam, and then I don't know what kit he saw or what happened, but all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, can I play Gundam with you guys?"
Can I get back in the chat?
That's exactly how it went. And you know what? This motherfucker went balls deep. He went out, and the first thing he bought was, it was like a $200 or $300 perfect grade Gundam or Wing Gundam.
Wow.
With like lights and sounds and everything. It was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go hard or go home.
He was going real elitist about it. He's like, I'm only getting the biggest and the best one.
That didn't work out for him. Because then he started buying kits just to be on the show.
Is that basically is that almost the origin of this show, Off the Runner? Is that what prompted you guys to start?
It actually, it started because like we caught ourselves that one episode that we called Gundam Lock, like just talking about Gundam because it was a really, really dry week for Beast Wars. And after the show, I was just like, so Gundam podcast? Oh no, Chris said, so Gundam podcast? I'm like, yeah, I'm down. And then we threw a couple of names around and then we just started it. Okay, and this is a thing now.
I found I'm pretty good at naming things, so I said Off the Runner, and then no one had any objections.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't. I knew. Don't be a liar.
Just like that.
Don't lie to the fans.
You didn't name shit.
The truth will come. I will go through 700,000 messages to find it.
You do that.
I will.
Check back in next week.
I'm gonna hire Dalton.
Nice.
He's already got it. Dalton's got it in his diary.
It's in his diary.
It's nice that the crew, like between Stasis Lock, has like the shared hobby of the Gundam too. So Dakota got into it. Is Dalton into the hobby as well?
Dalton's into it as long as Dakota's into it. And we got Josh on a bunch of episodes. We got Josh.
Yeah, actually, Josh wanted to come on tonight, but he's doing his live stream right now for, I think, what is it? Like the
Child's Play charity, yeah.
Child's Play charity, yeah.
So he'll be on future ones. Like he regrets not being able to be here for this one or last week's, but he'll be back on. We got Shoky on him, who's this guy that Tyler knows, I guess, and Josh knows. And Joe was on here with me last week building the kit.
It's like a pretty open forum. Like if you want to just jump on the show with us and talk shop or shit, and just build some Gundam kits with some cool dudes, like jump on in. It's open. It's like an open invite to pretty well everyone, as long as you don't just stop building and watch porn while we're live. That's
if Dakota finds out that Jose was on here and he didn't have a kit to build, he's gonna freak out.
Oh no, I'm breaking protocol right now.
That's his one rule: is you have to be building something.
Well, I think his rules don't stretch as far as his channel.
Look, I'm sorry to be breaking tradition. So look, what I'm gonna do right here, I got this Mech Fans Toys Omega Supreme.
I'm gonna start taking this apart.
Pull them apart real quick, and I'll start putting them into something else.
There you go. There we go.
Taking
is that the knockoff of the Legends Class one, the Mech Fans Toys?
It's it's supposed to be their original design, from what I understand, but I know they knock off like some of the other Iron Factory and DX9 stuff. Yeah.
I just got internet at my store after about a year and a half of not having internet there. So guess who's catching up on the Realm podcasts? Me.
Nice.
Finally, I'm up to the 4th of July. That's how caught up I am. I'm getting there.
With Off the Runner, what's the usual format for this show? Do you guys usually like try to build a whole kit through the course of an episode, or take a long time?
We're usually all building different grades or at different stages of our builds, so it's kind of a time thing. We just go for as long as, traditionally we've gone for as long as Dakota wants to until he gets hungry and wants to leave.
Pretty well.
He's like an animal or something. And and wherever we stop, we stop. And Dakota has traditionally only built his kits while he's doing the show. So like nothing happens to that kit unless he's recording. Okay. It's whenever he's done for the night is when we turn it off.
Okay.
What's up?
Whereas me and Chris are savages, and we will. Shoky's a savage too. We will all build off air because we don't give a shit, and we have tons of more kits to build.
Stack of Gundams to build.
Like I still have a backlog from when, like, and I haven't. This is actually the first time I've been able to sit down and build in over a month because like starting my new job and shit, right? So if I get the chance to, if I got, even if I got 20 minutes, I'll sit down, I'll build for a little bit, and then I'll go about my day. But
Nice.
I enjoy it for what it is. I'm not doing it for the podcast. I'm doing the podcast for this.
And the most famous builder in the world is here, Shoky.
Famous.
What's up, dog?
What's up, guys?
What's up, Shoky?
Long time no see.
Yeah, I've been busy. Legitimately, like, 'cause you guys, are we building tonight? I'm like, I've built 4 kits this week already. I'm tired.
So Shoky is a Gundam reviewer. Well, not just Gundam, but he's a reviewer, and he's got his own channel where he does Master Grade Mondays. And I'm not quite familiar with the other themed days, if there are any. But I know Master Grade Mondays.
Yeah, there's Master Grade Monday for sure is themed. Everything else is Wednesday is my usually unboxing day, and then.
So why are you watching this Wednesday?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Which kind of how it comes down to, because nobody watches the unboxings. But it got to the point that, like, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays I was doing my other collectibles, nobody is like, if it's just growing too much, I have way too much to review. So I started a whole second channel just for all my collectibles, to keep them away from my Gunpla, basically.
Nice.
So literally same week as hitting 3,000 subscribers and my 2-year anniversary, I decided to start a second damn channel.
There you go.
Congrats.
Too busy.
So Shoky, we were just on the topic of origin stories. What got you into Gunpla?
Oddly enough, that came up the other night on a Nerdcast that I have yet to edit. Basically, I had never realized that Gunpla was a thing, but I was a fan of Gundam shows.
Mm-hmm.
00 had just passed. I'd already watched Seed and Wing, and Build Fighters started.
Build Fighters, yeah.
And I went, hold on, wait a second. These are a real thing? And so I just went to the Googles and said Gundam kits. And it came up with Gundam Planet, which is pretty much one of my preferred places to buy from. And I started out with the hero Gundams of my favorite series from 00, and that's how I got into building Gundams.
Nice. What year was that in?
That was the end of 2012, beginning of 2013.
Nice.
And so I was also incredibly depressed and had a really bad urge to create stuff. I've been an artist for pretty much my entire life, and I had no creative outlet or nothing like that. So Gundam came along at the best time of my life, needing something to do and keep my mind busy.
Would you say that Gundam for you was like a fresh gust of wind?
No, I would not say that.
I thought that was going to be funny here.
I was hoping it would be.
That's actually
man.
it's funny that you say that, because I brought it up earlier when I mentioned like me like building my first kit and whatever, and it almost felt therapeutic in a way, like just taking the time to do it, and it was almost like stress relief. So it was, and so it's interesting to hear you say that. It's good that other people could kind of get that from the hobby as well.
And the words of Dakota, man, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Dakota takes 8 hours to make a meal for himself. I take 2 hours to build a kit, and I'm fine. So
Yeah, everything else kind of goes away when I'm building, which sounds really cliched, but
How many kits have you built since you started?
Okay, so the real question is, how many kits have I built this month? Not how many kits have I built ever.
Ooh, that means it's a lot.
How many kits haven't you bought?
How many kits haven't I bought? Well, I'm sure there's way more that I haven't bought. That's right, because I'm in the living room right now. I'm not in the Shoky cave, so he doesn't know that I've got 9 detolfs full of Gundams.
Nice.
But if you look at this here, this is a teaser for my for some yearly event that happens on my channel. I have, if you can see the list there, that's just the kits that I have to build for this particular event. If that'll give you an idea of my rough build usage, so to speak. Yeah, I just got a box full today for that particular event. So go check out In the Kitchen with Shoky if you want to see my unboxings.
Are they done in the kitchen?
There's the shameless plug.
So, Chris, in regards to the show, what's the publishing schedule like? Is it once a week you guys usually try to get together and do the builds?
That's a great question.
It's been sporadic lately, just because
everybody's been busy with different things,
conflicting schedules. This is really just like a relaxing time. So like it just happens whenever we want it to. For the most, and across 3 different channels so far. And if Shoky wants to pick up the mantle one week, it'll be 4 channels. And Josh will be 5.
Hey, I need more content now since I have less content on my main channel, so why not?
I love that word.
Explain to me how that works, because I know the show is usually on whose channel is it?
It's usually on Dakota's.
Dakota's. Okay. Okay, but we're here on the Bricks on the Dollar YouTube channel currently, so that's channel number 2. Who else has it been on?
Dalton's.
He had one.
Daltonian's TFs.
There we go.
And then
it's a treasure hunt to find all the episodes. You got to work for this show.
Well, somebody you need to make a playlist across all the channels so that everybody can get seen from there.
Dakota can't even make a schedule. Come on now. He also way too much credit.
Forget a schedule. He can't put the video live for 3 weeks afterwards. It's not like he edits.
When I numbered the previous episode, I was questioning, like, maybe Dakota's got a few that he hasn't even published yet, so I have no idea what number this is going to be.
That's why I thought the title was funny. I thought it was also strange that you went actual live.
I don't see the reason not to. There's a chat. It's jumping.
Mm-hmm. Are there people in the chat? I can't see.
There's like 4 or 5 people in the chat. There's 4 viewers, so yeah.
Give it to the people.
And to everyone at home, that's what we consider jumping.
Yeah, if they want to see it, they'll see it. See, we got.
Hey, look, this is Gundam video on a Lego channel, and I'm surprised there's anyone watching.
Well, here's the weird part of everybody who actually does or actually shows this podcast. Only one of us is actually a Gundam channel.
That's true. That is very true.
You've got a Lego / soda channel. You've got a Transformers
very much a soda channel.
You can miss me with all that slash shit.
Are you still working on your bison?
Yeah, I've been slowly picking away at it over the weeks, just because I've had no time, and I've been working 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, sometimes 12 or 14 hours a day. So I come home, I sleep. I come home, I eat, I jerk off, I sleep, I wake up, I go to bed to work again. So
he jerks off again, then he goes to sleep.
It depends on the day. Sometimes I'm feeling frisky. Sometimes I'm too tired. Sometimes my hand has a headache. You know how it goes.
My wrist is sore. Can't.
My hand has a headache. Wow,
that's a shame.
That's a new one, man. That's a new one.
Well, on the other hand,
I'm not ambidextrous.
That's Shoky's other channel.
On the other hand,
he's trademarking that shit right now.
Yeah,
told you I'm good at naming.
Well, there goes my podcast for that channel now. I can do that.
Shit, I didn't even make that live yet. How'd you know?
So, Jose, you like the feel of the show? You want to chop it up with us? You want to get in here with the shit talk or what?
Yes.
Oh, when you said chop it up, I thought you meant you couldn't pick up some nippers.
Wow, that's like some Gundam slang. Chop it up. Oh, wow.
Actually, Jose's selling a couple kits if you're interested, Shoky. There you go. I hooked you up, Jose. Don't say I never did nothing for you.
I've got too many to buy as it is.
Sorry, Jose. Seller fell through.
It's okay.
Well, it depends on what they are.
Or buyer fell through.
I'm probably going to bring them to ToyCon, New Jersey. So I'm going to sell at that show.
Me and you are the only ones vending there.
Yeah.
That's a long drive for me, so I'm going to be out on that.
Don't worry, I'll buy them from him.
There you go.
I have a bad feeling that Jose bought really expensive kits, and I'm just not gonna want to buy the ones he has for sale.
Probably.
Like I said, which ones are they? Because I can always find money.
No problem.
Dad, how did you pay for college?
They're both from Char's Counterattack. It's the Verka New Gundam and the Rigsy.
Oh, okay.
Which is a little bit older.
Yeah,
I don't know if they make that one anymore.
They don't, but they need to make a new version of it.
Yeah.
But no, I've got the new Gundam, so not too hot on that one actually.
No,
just something about the actual kit. Like the design is pretty. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad kind of tickle.
Is that one of those no polycaps ones?
Yeah, it's a no polycapper.
Oh, fuck at that. I'm out.
No polycap, no purchase.
That's right.
What does that mean? That's something I don't get
So,
like, in the hobby. So
some of the Verka ones just don't have like the rubber
No, all of them
pieces. No, it's not all of them.
Okay.
Most of them. There's
What,
probably
like
a couple that do.
I didn't have any
pieces?
issue.
The polycaps in the between the joints.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the runner of like the rubberized pieces just doesn't have that.
Like this.
So it's literally the joints literally move on friction between plastic on plastic.
Yeah, so
Instead of that little rubber chunk that helps you.
when they go, they go. Where, well, I mean, polycaps wear out over time, but honestly, you can always get more polycaps. But if your actual plastic on plastic joints wear out, then you've got to build them up with, clear coat or something, pledge, whatever you guys use.
It's not a good experience. I've got one Verka with no polycaps, and it's just like, I can't even pick it up because it just falls apart.
Oh man, Chris, imagine if that was your first experience building a model kit.
Yeah, that'd been bad.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
a good amount of sarcasm in there, Tyler, but I think we both know where you're going with that.
No,
It would be a bad experience.
I'm dead serious. Like you'd never get into Gundam. You'd never spend all this money you have.
I've spent a good amount of money on this.
You know what's weird? I think there is a Verka that's out there, but I don't think it's a real Verka. It's like just his minor redo. It's not.
Man, don't say that too loud.
But so I'm trying to think because I've got a few Verkas, but
No, if you say fake Verka, fucking Bandai's gonna rain down on you with the fucking ban hammer.
no, it's not a fake Verka. It's like he just did a minor redo on it, or it's kind of like the difference between the Sinanju OVA and the Sinanju Verka. It's almost
The Sinanju.
pretty much the exact same kit, but different weapon, different decals.
That's the one I had a good experience with, is the Sinanju Stein, because I think it did have polycaps, if I recall correctly.
That's what I'm thinking. I think the Sinanju did. It's been a long time since I built one.
Yeah, I won't chance another Verka unless I know it has polycaps.
Oh, so that was an interesting thing about the polycaps, though. So is there a way for you to know if a kit has polycaps or not in it?
So that's where unboxings come in handy, right, Shoky?
Yes, but actually, if you really need to know, if you look on the back of the box, it actually tells you which plastics are inside, and usually the polycaps are polyethylene. So if it doesn't have polyethylene listed, they're probably not polycaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact.
Yeah, just interesting to hear the differences between both, and it's almost like a con of the kit. Like, are there any others that you could kind of like think of
What do you
That
mean?
doesn't have
from
them?
building? No, like just like that was like a con. You're saying like if a kit doesn't have
cons
polycaps.
to Gundam, it's a
Like-
money sink. Like once you start, it's hard to stop. Like I would definitely, I'd try cocaine before this. It'd be easier to quit cocaine because, like, even though I haven't been building, I haven't had time. I'm still looking at kits and buying kits.
Scratching, smoking.
Yeah, like because I know I'm going to get to them eventually, and it's such, like you said, it's so therapeutic. It's so good. You need the fix. Like Chris, after every stasis lock, Chris is always like, "So we building tonight? Are we building tonight? Who's building tonight? You got your knife? You got your cutter?
And the more unopened kits you have, the more you gotta be like, when are we building?
Yeah, really.
So I should be asking that every minute of the day
Yeah.
with my ridiculous backlog.
We get it, Shoky. You have a lot of kits. You have a lot of money. Our economy's garbage. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of money. I have a lot of plastic.
Same thing.
I'm not made of coin. I'm made out of plastic over here.
I'll say, Jose, one con is that if you build one of these, there's almost zero resale value. Like, it's yours now. You own this plastic.
Unless you're doing a full custom job, paint job, scratch build, whatever. That's the only thing people are probably going to buy. Although I did actually manage to get a commission for one of my friends. I featured on my builder showcase, and a guy in the Texas Gundam Club was looking for somebody to build kits for him because he works at the oil field. He has no free time, and he just likes the kits. So,
And see, like I respect people like that. They're dedicated to the hobby because, like, building is the most important part of the hobby. And he's like, listen, I will sublet that part of the hobby just so I can still have these representations of the shit that I want.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it came down to.
Okay.
If you're going to talk other downsides, lack of polycaps can be a downside, but it's not a definite negative. Some of them are good, whereas some polycaps are shitty. Where, like, if you get like some of the first wave of IBO kits, they're all floppy. They're floppy messes.
I have a con.
Well, it's not like I'm talking,
Fucking
Tyler.
stickers.
Okay.
We've already covered polycaps. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
No polycaps bad. Polycaps good. Okay.
Okay. Well, stickers can be bad, but in the case of HGs, you don't really have a whole lot of option if you're not painting.
Well, then, shut up.
Hey, I like the foil stickers. I don't do any of the other things. I just do the foil stickers.
I'm okay with foil stickers on eyes, on small accents. I am not okay when you take a foil sticker and it's supposed to color half of the goddamn leg.
Yeah.
No, or color the entire
one red
wing.
piece and one black piece. It's 2 red pieces and a big black sticker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like the
and that.
If you look at the side skirts on the Zwei, I think it's a Zwei. Yeah, Zwei Gundam or a Zwei Throne from 00. They're just giant orange pieces, but they're supposed to be yellow, black, and white coming down the side, and it comes in one huge sticker, but then no white at all for the fangs that are coming off. So I hand painted all of that and just skipped the stickers. But in other cases,
sorry, is that the Ultron one you were talking about? The Psy Ultron? Is that what it's called?
No.
With the wolf as the pilot?
Oh, that's the Gion Ultron. No, that's actually.
How's a wolf gonna pilot a robot?
That's just. I do have that one though. It's right here in my hand. But no, that was from 00. Was the one I was talking about.
Oh, from 00. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's okay. But stickers can be bad. But if you're talking marking decals, which I assume is Chris was trying to avoid, where all the little tiny.
I don't know how to do them.
stickers.
I know you guys are like, you just put it on. I'm like, yeah, but you gotta like guide my hand ghost style. There's no way I'm figuring this out on my own.
Well, that back page of the instructions actually has a little diagram with little numbers pointing at the location of where.
Don't make me learn Japanese over here.
The modern kits, you don't have to. They're in half English now.
I got barely enough time to build these kits. What makes you think I can take Rosetta Stone?
Does it look like I'm buying modern kits? Come on.
So, guys, as far as the Gundams, what's your favorite scale to build?
This one, the only scale.
Chris is 1-to-100 scale. I don't care.
Always,
honestly.
all day.
So master grade for Chris.
So
you don't care?
Most of the figures, the toys, anything I buy, the most important thing to me is it does it feel like it's the right size?
Is it going to puncture a hole in my colon when I shove it up my ass? That's what Chris.
If it's not the right size on the shelf, it doesn't have the right shelf presence, then I don't need it. I don't need a bunch of small things on the shelf when I can have fewer of what I call the right size things.
And see, that's where I tend to disagree with Chris, because scale isn't a big thing for me with Gundam, because each build is so unique and so different from the next one, for the most part, aside from troop building and so on. But
yeah,
it's they're so different. No two Gundams are really the same, and to me, scale is the only time when scale is a downside for me is if I'm trying to collect a whole run of kits that are from the same show, and only 3 of them are 1/100, and only 3 of them are 1/144, but there's 5 of them and 3 from the one. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's the only complication I have with scale. But apart from that, scale doesn't bother me whatsoever. I got the Higak Wing Gundam just so that I could have a cool display to go with my Leos, but I would never display my Leos with my master grades.
Okay.
Maybe that's the thing. I'm not looking to put together a shelf or a display. It's just a bunch of robots that are all basically the same size in some details.
And see, that's why we call the show Off the Runner too, because it's not just strictly Gundam; it's just model kits. Like if someone wanted to jump on and build a fucking a car model kit, by all means, bro.
We'd make fun of them, but then we'd welcome them.
Yeah. Well, you make fun of everybody right at the beginning.
True.
But I didn't get to weigh in that much on the scale thing. But
Shoky, we get it.
Well, I'm in the same group with Tyler. It's like the scale doesn't matter, but like he was saying, if you have like what happened with me with 00, I was a master grade builder only. It's all I would build, and then I got to the point that I wanted more of the 00 kits, and the only way to get the other Gundams in that case was either the no grade 1/100s, which were completely sold out at the time, or go into high grades. So I dove off the deep end and went into high grades. And
hang on, Chris, I got you. Oh no, Shoky, not you too.
Yeah.
But that being said, I have my displays set up. These are my high grade shelves. This is my master grade shelves, and they don't tend to intertwine, except right now I'm out of space. But with the high grades, I actually will buy different size action bases and actually build a display out of them. I want to bring something up that came up in one of the Gundam groups the other day. It was the difference, and somebody asked this question, difference between a bootleg and a third party thing. And I'm like, and I didn't pay attention to it. It was a Gundam group. I thought it was referring to Transformer because, we all are aware of third party Transformers and stuff like that. And everybody was saying there's no such thing as third party Gundam kits. Everything is just a bootleg or a knockoff. And I'm like, first of all, Mechanicore is definitely a third party kit producer. They have their own designs. They make their own stuff, their own versions of whatever suit they're working on. But then you do have the knockoff companies that Bandai has been shutting down. Dragon Momoko, Dabon,
Supernova,
Dabon.
I didn't know they fuck with Dabon yet.
They went after him, but I don't know if it's gone too far.
If you see a master grade on eBay and it's $10, it must be Dabon.
No. If you see a perfect grade unicorn that's only $100,
Dabon also does the. I think it's Dabon. They also do the knockoff Zoids kits as well. I think
probably because those guys are doing straight knockoffs. They buy probably a dozen kits. They mold every one of them and they pop those things out at a quarter of the actual cost, even copying the fucking box art. Yeah. But it's so. But that's not. I mean, somebody said Supernova. I thought I heard. But
yeah, with me.
Okay, but they're not a knockoff company though, because they actually take somebody's custom that they made, and then they remold that custom. So it's.
I kind of disagree with you there.
I mean, they're down the line between a third party and a knockoff. They're a knockoff in the fact that they're copying an existing thing, but they're not straight copying it. It is a brand new custom thing.
Well, Dragon Momoko wasn't technically. Well, maybe they did with other kits, but like their Death Scythe.
Dragon Momoko went from knockoff to third party, but they also were stealing the IP outright by calling it what it is. They didn't.
That's true.
They didn't give it a different name, but I think Supernova toes that line too because they're calling them by their actual name. But I don't know if they call them Gundam. I think they just. I have to look at it again because my buddy Mitchell builds them from his sponsor.
But it has the code on them too, like the XXXG 04H or whatever, right?
Let me look real quick.
Yeah.
This is right here, Jose. This is the meat of your Verbally Challenged right here. That's the KO discussion.
Well, because it came up because people were arguing the difference between a KO and a thing, and most of them were saying, and this is the first time I've experienced this in the Gundam community, that anything that Bandai didn't put out is immediately a knockoff. There's no such thing as third party. Everything is a knockoff or bootleg, as they were calling it. But I'm like, I don't agree with that in any way.
I kind of agree with that. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't have any hate for third-party companies, but call it what it is. You know what I mean? You're stealing intellectual property from other people, especially Transformers. How many Springers did they get?
You
know what I'm saying? That's my go-to.
That's Transformers. But once
No, I
again,
know that, but Transformers is the one that normalizes third party, whereas Gundam is just outright calling it what it is. It's a fucking knockoff.
No, but
Whether or not it's accepted.
isn't the Gundams like you're talking about? Like, aren't they straight up knockoffs of the original kits?
Well, they're both.
in
There's
some
both.
cases, yes. But if you developed your own from the ground up, like Dragon Momoko was doing, or in the case of Mechanicore, there's nothing copied there. They came from the ground up.
Except
It's
for
their own,
intellectual property.
except for the concept of it. It's
So I wouldn't find anything wrong with that because it's the same thing these third-party companies were doing with Transformers. So if everybody's like okay with buying that, then if another company's making their own model kits, so what is it? Is it like that Bandai has the patent for model kits because don't other companies?
No, they just own the property.
The likeness.
They own the likeness.
Okay,
but
that's
that's
what it is.
okay. And to answer the question, yeah, Supernova does use the actual call sign, and it does actually say master grade model, and it says I'm looking for the word Gundam. And don't think it says Gundam on it.
Are they copying the looks like straight up, or is it like their own kind of stylized versions? Like
it's their own stylized version. The heavy arms that they're doing is fucking heavily stylized, and it looks great.
Actually, the heavy arms is the closest to the actual P Bandai version that there is, because the guns, the actual machine guns, are exactly the same as the master grade. But with the case of Supernova, because I got a chance to review the last couple of them. With the Ultron, the connections for the Dragon Fangs are completely original. I don't know what the heck they developed them from. They're two double heavy ball jointed and segmented things, for the necks of the Dragon Fangs, and they come off of the back instead of coming off the arm. So that's all an original deal. The Dragon Fangs themselves are a combination of the master grade P Bandai Ultron and the Shenlong's version. It's actually a fusion of the two with some added parts, which is actually pretty cool the way they did it. We sat there for a long time really breaking down and looking at the parts and seeing like, okay, this is how they did this. Because as I was talking about before, these things, while they look like they are stylized, but they're supposedly they're a custom kit that somebody built. So you use the original, customized it, and then Supernova actually breaks it down and molds and sells that.
Okay.
So it is a stylized version, but it's coming with a lot of things. In the case of like the Sandrock, you've got the extra big shoulder pads, you've got the claw thingies hanging off. That's all original. That's not from the regular Bandai kit. The swords, they had the extra bladed swords on there, and one thing they do engineering wise that's new is they actually extend the torsos to actually give it a taller look. So they actually re-engineer the center armor, and the actual torso grows by about half an inch. So they do actually engineer it a little bit differently. So that's why our Supernova is towing the line, because 90% of it is the original Bandai kit just remolded, but with all the custom touches that somebody added to it.
Okay.
In the case of early Dragon Momoko stuff, and even probably like the Testament and stuff like that, they're using the inner frame straight up copied from Bandai. But the Death Scythe is a little bit different. A lot of people say it looks amazing, but the kit goes together like garbage. Like, it is horrible to build. Really? Everybody said that about the Dragon Momoko. But Testament being the last thing they ever put out, a lot more people like that better. But the Death Scythe is everybody says it's garbage. It looks fantastic when it's done, but getting there is it's a trudge. A lot of things don't fit. The plastic is crap. So I mean, it's a knockoff in the highest degree. You're saving your money where it shouldn't count. You're giving it up on the engineering. You're giving it up on the plastic. Where Bandai, of course, spends God knows how many years developing each kit, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, so the general quality of the KOs, because I know like now with the Transformers, a lot of people love them because a lot of these companies that make the KOs are improving. So is it like that?
They're on par.
Are they on par with what Bandai makes? You just said like not really. They're sacrificing some.
I would say that because I haven't built or had a Mechanicore one in my hand, because they're coming up with their own designs based off of things. So they have their they did the Ziegler, which is the perfect Xeon. So that's their own version of a Master Grade Xeon, but it doesn't look exactly like it. But a lot of people love those kits. They say it's an amazing build.
Okay.
And the old kit, the old Bandai kit, is really old. It's from like 2001.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the quality's downhill. Whereas Supernova, having that in hand, the plastic isn't the same quality, but it's not terrible. It's not, but they also they have a lot sharper pieces than Bandai will put out.
Yeah.
Like the actual like dragon fangs on their Ultron are super sharp. Like the actual little teeth on there are super sharp.
Yeah, they drew blood on Joe.
They really will cut you or stab you. So they're really that. I guess that probably lends to the quality because Bandai won't go that thin if they can help it. Though I have been stabbed by an actual was that Kotobukiya? No, it was a Bandai kit. It was a Bandai kit.
I was stabbed a couple times by the Kotobukiya kits as well.
Kotobukiya, they're sharp.
So a lot of these the knockoff companies, stuff like that, their quality is probably closer to Kotobukiya than Bandai. So the plastic doesn't feel the same. You can always tell the difference when you're holding a Bandai kit or something else.
Well, something I noticed too is like the plastic Bandai uses gives off a really weird smell. Like you get it on your hands and you can smell it. Yeah, but it's bad. Like
that's probably the mold release, to be honest.
Maybe.
But there's actually a different, even being Bandai, the Super Minipla kits. So they're still put out by Bandai, but they're not Gundam. But they actually do use a totally different plastic because my buddy built the Megazord kit, which is a whole lot of fun.
I want to get it. Yeah, I want to get it.
The stickers are a nightmare, but it looks fantastic when it's done. But you can't panel line it. It melts the plastic.
Oh man! Okay.
So like he went to panel line his the T-Rex. He started on the T-Rex tail, which has all that intricate panel lining, and he started out with the I think it was just the pore type panel line marker, and he just go blink, and it goes in there, and then he starts to rub off the excess, and then you notice that the plastic itself starts to smudge.
Wow.
And then he dried it off with a paper towel, and then he grabbed just a regular panel liner, just a regular panel line marker.
And then it exploded.
Well, it didn't explode. It didn't have the exact same reaction, but it was not taking in the same way. So they're using a different plastic formula for the Super Minipla kits. So you would have to do something different to try to panel line them. So anything with a more aggressive formula, like a heavy alcohol content, like the pore type, or the thinner that's in the Tamiya accent liner, that will probably eat it. So just
definitely.
What if you're just using like a regular like marker or something like that, like a Gundam marker?
If you use a
point,
well, that's what I'm talking about. The fine point panel line marker it still won't, because it absorbs it more than it'll just sit on the surface. Because he couldn't wipe away the excess even with the regular fine point.
He couldn't wipe away his tears.
Exactly.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So odds are a regular just Gundam paint marker would probably eat right through it. So if you wanted to like paint details, it might actually eat through it. A Sharpie.
Well, that's because the Gundam marker is technically it's not acrylic, right? It's enamel.
I forget, to be honest. I think
it's in Japanese.
I wonder.
I can't remember, but they are alcohol based though.
The paints are alcohol based. I wonder if maybe you switched it over to acrylic and tried a different thinner if it would work.
It might. I don't know what would work on those, just to be honest with you. But I think that's why they give you the stickers. Oil based probably would be the least offensive, but who's going to use an? I mean, you could do an oil wash. You want to do just a quick oil wash with some water? That'll definitely panel line it.
Just dip it in your engine.
Oil bath.
That should definitely not have any effect on it. But in the case of we're talking the wing kits or even Verka kits, I have to figure out which piece it is. But the regular panel line markers will the panel line markers and Gundam marker will eat the plastic on certain Bandai kits.
I know.
Do not ever use marker on the joints of a Gundam Wing kit. It will absolutely eat it. Because it happened on every one of mine that I tried to do some silver dry brushing more or less on the joints, and it actually ate through and broke the joints. And then on my
I haven't had any of those problems, but not on the wing kits. But I did have it on the Gundam Thunderbolt high grade.
Mhm.
I went to Panaline those little yellow grates. It's the one with the beam spear.
Yeah.
You know, the little yellow grates on the chest. I tried to
about
Panaline
the Thunderbolt ground type.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
You
the
had a problem
little
with
yellow grates.
that?
Yeah. Well, I went to Panaline it, and I Panalined it. I let it go, and I went to rub it, and then I put it in, and it shattered when I put it in into like 6 shards.
Really? Huh. I didn't have that problem. What'd you panel line it with?
Just the Panaline accent color.
Wait, the Tamiya accent color?
Yeah.
That might have been why. That might have been too aggressive for that thin plastic.
Maybe.
But I did it with the Pore type panel line marker and had no problem. Which is it's formulated differently.
I heard you guys mention before, kind of like back to the KO thing. You mentioned about Bandai kind of cracking down on some of these companies. So Bandai is aggressive like with these companies that are kind of putting these third party versions out, because you don't really hear too much about it with Hasbro, Takara, like because there's just these things are coming out constantly and more every day. So it's funny to hear that Bandai is actually aggressively pursuing them.
Oh yeah, Bandai has shut down Dragon Momoko not once but twice.
Yep.
To the point
now
that
the guy's going to jail.
Yeah, because and the funny thing is they thought they were getting away with it because they were in China. But then they actually found a loophole that actually said, and so they actually really did shut them down like hardcore. Like police went to the factory and shut that shit down.
Wow.
But yeah, every dragon.
Yep. And so everybody's all like, I love the people online, man, get your Dragon Momoko kits while you can, because they ain't ever coming back. I think they even tried to start up again under a different name and were shut down nearly immediately.
Yeah.
That's interesting because, like I said, you just don't hear about Takara doing that. So it's
well, here's the difference that the conclusion that I've come up with, and I don't know how factual it is, and I've even tried to reach out to Bobby, but he feels some type of way about third party and KOs and whatnot, right? So I don't know if he didn't understand what I was saying or if he just flat out disagreed. Whatever's whatever. But I think that like Bandai doesn't need any help in boosting its market. So any KO or third-party kit that comes out is just taking money right out of Bandai's pocket. Whereas with Transformers, I see it as a brand that's very much being kept afloat by its adult collectors in a certain sense, like as far as the interest goes and the influence on their children and so on. The movies only go so far. And I find that with the third-party market thriving the way that it does, I feel like it's being it's being let happen by Hasbro and Takara, and they're not doing anything as to keep the interest still relevant, not only overseas but even in the smaller market in North America comparatively.
Okay, that's interesting, Tyler. It's like so basically the Gundam brand and just Gunpla, basically we could say it like that. As a whole, it's just a lot bigger than the Transformers franchise currently is.
Absolutely, yeah. It's more self-sustainable too. Like Gundam isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It's always going to be. I shouldn't say always going to be a success, but like there's a very good chance every time they come out with something that it's going to be a success because the market is so big and the fandom is so varied in what they like, but they're also, from what I've seen, Shoky may have something to contrast this with, but from what I've seen, the fandom behind Gundam is very together, very helpful. Whenever a new kit comes out, there's always ideas and customs and tips and pointers, and you know what I mean. It's like an all for one type thing. Or with Transformers, I find it's more one for one for the most part, with the exception of smaller communities like Realm of Collectors and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference though in the obvious that Transformers are toys. So it's one thing for a third-party company to come up with a new toy, and even in the likeness, well, even in the likeness, how many different versions of Optimus are out there? Just as a basis.
Too many.
Too many. But it's all in the same IP, but they do their own thing with said IP. Whereas model kits are handled a little bit differently. That's got to have something to do with it, because Bandai is like one of the second or third largest producers of anything in the world. Look at everything that's under their umbrella. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true.
They haven't, other than like real knockoff brands of like, say, Power Rangers figures and stuff like that. Yeah, they probably aren't shutting down a whole lot. But when it comes to Gunpla, that's like bread and butter for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that they produce a TV show around it, with Sunrise as a partner, developing any and all Gundam series, but they spend a couple of years developing new kits prior to the show, and then they spend all the money making the show. It's the same difference for Transformers, stuff like that. But Bandai has a very specific thing, but it seems to be Gunpla only or Gundam only. But it's also the weird dichotomy where how many old knockoff or third-party Transformers guys are still around that are doing straight knockoffs and copying the packaging, copying the product itself, throwing it out there with the same name?
No, not so much anymore. It's all like a different name, different packaging. Like they're not trying to pass it off like if it's the original product. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nobody. However, in Gunpla, a lot of these assholes
are. Okay.
They're doing straight knockoffs. They're not even changing the name.
Okay.
But I think that's one of the big differences. Where Dragon Momoko was doing straight ripoffs, and then now they're altering to where, or they were developing their own things, even with the same basis as using the inner frame. But you get into other companies that they're not going after that are developing their own stuff, even within the IP.
Okay.
So they're borrowing the IP. It's a Gundam looking thing, just like it's a Hot Rod looking thing, or it's an Optimus looking thing, where it's really hard to lock down the resemblance realistically, or the what was the word we used earlier? So okay, it looks just like the RX-78, but the kit is developed completely differently, something like that. So I think that's where Gundam versus Transformers really makes a big difference between having knockoff and why there isn't a whole lot of third-party Gundam kits. Very, very few. However, there's lots of resin conversion kits coming out now. So you're basically going to hold on to an inner frame and a few extra parts, maybe weapons, but you're going to buy everything else to make that into something else. Now, would Bandai ever shut those guys down? No, because they're not really... Because Bandai's getting their money because you got to buy the initial kit. Now, if they were a ripped-off frame with it, Bandai would totally, chase them down and beat them with a stick.
100%.
Beat them to death with their own runners. Confiscate the mold and say thanks, bitch, and then turn around and use their molds to make something new. Which, how much you want to bet at some point they've done that?
I'm waiting for the Dragon Momoko Death Scythe to come out, Bandai.
Well,
I know you're listening.
The fact that they've never, and that's the other thing, whereas third-party Transformers companies, they'll use a lot of the same stuff over and over and over, but we'll also get a lot of things that have never been done, certain characters that have never been made, and that's one thing that certain companies have done when making Gundam kits. They've made things that Bandai never did, like the Testament Gundam from Dragon Momoko, or the Death Scythe Hell TV version from Dragon Momoko. Something they've never made. But it could also be incentive because they could see the demand for it. Maybe that would be incentive for Bandai to be developing that now. So maybe around next October, we might see that version of Death Scythe. We might see that version of Testament.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of sorry, go ahead, Jose.
No, just like what Shoky said, it's almost like they could be using that as inspiration for what they could be putting out.
Yeah, and I kind of imagine Hasbro and Takara doing the opposite when it comes to Transformers, because the G1 crowd especially has a very incomplete masterpiece collection without diving into the third-party market. So I feel like Hasbro and Takara, instead of being inspired by the third party, are almost this is not going to be the right term, but almost losing wood to continue with
They're
said
Pull that
line.
from.
I have no idea.
the
Like,
opposite fired.
they're losing steam. Like, yeah, they don't want to continue on with with G1 anymore. That's why they moved over to Beast Wars, and because the market's so saturated. No, I'm not taking a shot. I'm saying because the market's so saturated with all of these G1 masterpiece scaled iterations of their intellectual property that they can't do anything because it's technically third party. I kind of see them shying away, whereas, as you were saying, Bandai takes inspiration and does
Should.
something.
Should take inspiration.
Should take inspiration.
Yeah.
But if you look at it this way, Bandai's finally putting out things that they've never done. They've never done the Hazels outside of HG. We've gotten Master Grade Hazels, 3 of them now. Mind you, P Bandai, and then we've got the Woundwort also from Advance of Zeta. So all these really random things from a very niche series, and they're finally doing it. Where the third parties, because there was a third party Woundwort kit already that was actually really well done. So Bandai said, you know what, screw you, we're going to make it on our own official side and get our money for it. And so I don't know if they shut that company down, but why would you, unless there's a massive different price, if you can buy the original that definitely fits in with your current line that you can buy, why would you go buy this other brand that might be iffy on a, if they had a bad Friday, you might have the worst kit ever, might be the worst plastic, might be missing parts.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you look like you've made good progress on your piece there. Like, are you almost to the end?
Yeah, I just finished the second to last page, and the last page is just like mostly here's how you can pose it.
Yeah.
So I'm almost done here.
I'll show you the piece that'll fall off. There you go, Chris. You need to send that to me so I can review it, and then I'll send it back.
You don't have this? Why don't you have this? You have everything.
Because I don't buy no grades.
I think they're better. That is a shot right there. But they are better than my grades.
So tell me about the no grades, because it's still put out by Bandai, right? Is there?
Yeah. So there's 2 series. There's the RE 100s, and then there's the just the 1/100, and just doesn't have a grade mentioned anywhere on it. And that's what this is. This is one of the. I'm gonna hold up the box here. One of the ones that they don't say shit about a grade. It's just a 1/100 scale model.
Okay.
And I find that most of the Seed and Destiny kits are no grade. So
and Double O did the same thing.
Yeah. I gravitate towards a lot of the Seed ones because I like the look, and they're cheap, and they're available.
Any noticeable difference?
I have to assume from the couple of high grades I have built that this is a better quality build than those ones, just from experience. But I don't have any issues with them. This one, like that sticker over the stepped portion, was kind of ridiculous. And I'll tell you this: for this particular kit, he's got 2 entire hands. His right hand is like the trigger finger 2-piece grip hand, and his left hand is the open palm, and that's it. There's no other hands.
Okay.
Usually you get a bunch of hands. Yeah. So his left hand, he can only have it be like the relaxed open palm, which is fine because he's got the get over here.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be using that. Like with the Goof custom I have, the open palm is fine because he's got the get over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jose, a little bit on that. I think that if there is a master grade of it, then there's really no reason to buy any lesser grade. Like for the Blitz, there's a master grade, and then there's a either high grade or no grade. I don't remember what it is, but I would never buy the inferior one just because it's cheaper. Because the option is there. And now that's not to say that they won't make a master grade of something that doesn't currently have a master grade. But for the Blitz, like I want to get the Blitz, even though this one is pretty good. I want to get the real Blitz eventually too, and It's the other one. I have the Hailbuster, but I have the ungraded one when there is a master grade one, and I feel like that was a mistake. But at the time, I didn't know there was a master grade one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think in the case of seed kits, they're just dropping down the engineering a little bit. There's not a massive difference, probably, and saving out on like gimmicks.
Okay. So they tend to the ungraded ones then tend to be a little cheaper than like a master grade or
they're
a high
cheaper.
Oh yeah, they're cheaper.
And simplified. They're a lot more simplified. Basically,
they're not bad.
No,
but they're definitely simplified from a master grade. All right, well, I mean, they stay up like that, I guess.
But
To the side.
But as he was bringing up,
shooting spikes all over the place.
would you suggest for them to be like a good way for people to kind of get into the hobby or dip their toe into it if they don't want to go full on like a high grade or master grade?
Yeah, I think these are fine. I wouldn't get anything that's high grade at this point, even in 1/100. I can't do it. It's just you're done in 45 minutes and you snapped it together, and congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he's saying there were old 1/100 high grades. Those were a thing, especially for wing, and those were god awful. Those are from the late 90s.
I've got 2 of those.
Yeah, those were terrible. So yeah, he has a point on that. But that version of high grade doesn't exist anymore. Whereas they have the no grade, which they haven't put out a no grade one in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But as he brought up, the RE 100s, which are kits that are 1/100 scale, but usually bigger, bulkier mobile suits that master grade engineering would be a waste of time.
Okay.
Something like
the Gerbera is phenomenal, and that's an RE 100.
The Gundam Mark IV. I'm thinking of the Mark III. I know which one you're talking about, the GP04.
Yes.
Do you? Yeah. It doesn't sound like you do.
But no, that one is actually really cool. But it's really funny is you can visibly see the difference of one of those versus a master grade. Like you put them side by side, the plastic looks different. It's so funny because I forgot what I was working on. I think I was working on the Amazing Exia, and a guy was at the same table right next to me working on the GP04, and I was like, that doesn't look the same. Like the plastic actually looks different. It's funny, but for big bulky things, especially like the Nightingale, which is a huge ass mobile armor / mobile suit.
Yeah, that's the one that Mason has, Jose.
Yeah. It's really amazing, but it's no way they can make a master grade of it. It'd be ridiculous. It would cost out the ass. It's already an expensive kit. It would cost double to master grade it.
This was really cool, guys. Thanks for all the insight. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome to come back whenever we decide to build within the next 6 months. If you want to put a kit together.
Yeah, I told Bricks I'm gonna grab a high grade or something like that. Just something that I could just put together real quick while the next time you guys record. So
get you some Haros.
I'm down.
Get some Haro kits. They're stupid cheap.
Not the bear guy.
I'm over to bear.
That'll do it, I guess. See you next time.
Later.
Ta-ra.
All right, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that. And I want to thank Bricks on the Dollar once again for having me be a guest on Off the Runner. I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to being a guest on a future episode. As you've heard, I told those guys I'm going to grab a high grade Gundam, something, that's pretty easy to put together. It shouldn't be too much trouble. And next time they record, I'm sure it's going to be a good time. Hopefully Dakota will be there as well. Always a good time with those guys. And you could also check those guys out on Stasis Lock every single Wednesday night. Also on the Bricks on the Dollar YouTube channel, usually 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Stasis Lock. Check them out every single week. Once again, on the Bricks on the Dollar YouTube channel. All right, guys. Like I said before in the opening of the show, you can find me all over social media at HarikenBx. So that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox Live, and the PlayStation Network. All over social media at HarikenBx. You can also follow me on Instagram at Diaz4Fitness. All right, guys, before we head out, some quick shout outs. Remember to follow Realm of Collectors. We have a website, realmofcollectors.com. We're on Facebook as a group, Realm of Collectors, and we're on Instagram at Realm of Collectors. if you're listening to this podcast the day it publishes, which is on a Monday, you still have 2 days to get your pre-orders in for the Rock Box. Please do so while you can. You really do want to get your pre-orders in for a special surprise. So again, guys, 2 days. If you're listening to this on Monday, September 3rd, Labor Day, get your pre-orders in at realmofcollectors.com. And don't forget to check out the rest of the shows on the Cool Table Network. It's a hub for like-minded podcasts, including Enter the Realm and Breaking the Mold, Mondays and Tuesdays, respectively, on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. The only show to watch on Saturday nights, Plastic Fanatics, the Late Night Aftercast on Victory Saber 77's YouTube channel. Those 3 shows are also available in audio format on iTunes and Google Play. The rest of the shows on the Cool Table are Shattercast Uncut, Nerd Rage Radio, Toy Detox, Stasis Lock, Building Up to It, Fresh Communication, Beer and Bolzer's 40K, and 8 Weeks. You can find the Cool Table on Facebook, along with links to all these other great podcasts. All right, guys, that's it. That's the episode. Thank you for the download. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. We'll be back soon, real soon with the next episode. All right, so take care, stay safe, and peace out.